Ladies and gentlemen, good day and welcome to the Bodal Chemicals Limited Q4 FY23 earnings conference call. As a reminder, all participant lines will be in the listen-only mode, and there will be an opportunity for you to ask questions after the presentation concludes. Should you need assistance during the conference call, please signal an operator by pressing star then 0 on your touch-tone phone. Please note that this conference is being recorded. I now hand the conference over to Mr. Ankit Patel, Executive Director, Bodal Chemicals Limited. Thank you, and over to you, sir.
Thank you very much. Good evening, everybody. On behalf of Bodal Chemicals Limited, I extend a very warm welcome to everyone for joining us on the call today. On this call, we are joined by our CFO, Mr. Mayur Padya. I hope everyone had an opportunity to go through the financial results and investor presentation, which has been uploaded on the stock exchange and our company's website. We will give you a quick overview of the recent developments in the chemical industry, and then Mr. Mayur Padya will walk you through the operational and financial performance for the Q4 FY23 and financial year 23 full year. Global inflation has affected the end-user markets like textiles, paper, plastic, agrochem, water treatment, chemicals, etc. Consumption of end-user industries has been sluggish due to the overall slowdown in the global market. Uncertainty about closure of the war between Russia and Ukraine is one of the responsible factors for inflation in the European market, which has led to the decelerated demand scenario of the chemical industry. The two major markets, the United States and the European market, have been slow for more than a year now, owing to the multiple headwinds from rising inflation to uncertain geopolitical scenarios. China's growth has been slow, which has affected the prices of key commodities around the world, including dyestuff and dye intermediates. At Bodal, we are India's largest integrated manufacturer of dyestuff and dye intermediates and hold a meaningful market share in the world. In today's environment, where Indian suppliers are emerging as preferred partners globally, we have been able to hold our leadership position. Coming straight to the operational performance, overall business performance for FY23 has been weak, as the company's total revenue stood at 1586 crores, a degrowth of 23.5% due to the subdued performance of dye intermediates and dyestuff. Lower demand and price volatility of key raw materials has affected many textile players in India, resulting in suboptimum capacity utilization and inventory destocking and slow exports. Coming to dye intermediates, at present dye intermediates like H-acid and vinyl sulfone pricing has been at lower level, putting a strain on the industry players. For Q4 FY23, total revenue from dye intermediates stood at 136 crores. H-acid and vinyl sulfone prices were near to rupees 422 for H-acid and 227 for vinyl sulfone per kg. Being an integrated dyestuff manufacturer, we produce major dye intermediate products, and over 40% of these intermediates capacity is captively consumed by, resulting in a cost advantage for our dyestuff products. The balanced capacity of dye intermediates is served in both domestic as well as global markets. Many intermediate players in India are still under pressure due to slow demand. Going forward, we can expect a nominal improvement in the dye intermediate business. Coming to the dyestuff, end applications like textile, leather, paper consuming industries have not been performing well during the last few quarters. All leading textile companies are facing global headwinds, which have curtailed the outlook for dyestuff products. The dyestuff business for Q4 23 stood at 99 crores. Coming to basic chemicals, about 50% of our basic chemical is captively used for dye intermediates. Our overall basic chemicals contributed around 39 crores for Q4 FY23. Coming to chlor-alkali business, the chlor-alkali business continued to perform reasonably well with revenue of 326 for FY23, driven by a healthy volume uptake. During the quarter, the realization of caustic soda has been normalized. Our chlor-alkali business will contribute meaningful business in the coming period on back of technology upgradation. We foresee demand for caustic soda to remain healthy from FMCG, textile, paper, and other industries. Since very few players have a presence in North India, we will have a competitive edge to a certain extent. Coming to the benzene derivatives greenfield project, as highlighted in the earlier call, our main goal is to replace imports and capture business in the pharma and agrochemical market where PNCB and ONCB are used. We will be installing the capacity of 63,000 metric tons per annum of benzene derivatives. The Saika greenfield project is progressing well and is expected to start the trial run by September 2023. Most of our subsidiaries reported a satisfactory performance except Senar-Boya. The heavy earthquake in Turkey has affected Senar-Boya's performance for the quarter. In a medium to long-term view, these subsidiaries will bring meaningful business. However, in short term, we are expecting a modest performance. We have been moving up the value chain and working relentlessly towards diversifying the business from our core dyestuff and dye intermediate business to other specialty chemical products like benzene derivatives. Once we have a decent visibility of demand for our product portfolio and the new site is stabilized, we will restart our sulfuric acid project at the Saika greenfield site. Manufacturers and exporters in India are having a challenging time managing the overhead cost. Over the years, chemical industry has seen a transformation. Long-term story of India remains intact. However, we expect overall demand to remain grim for the short period. Thank you now, and I hand over the call to Mr. Mayur Padhya, who will walk you through the financial performance.
Good evening, everyone. The overall performance of the company has been muted for the quarter gone by. Our standalone performance for Q4 FY23 is as follows. Total revenue for Q4 FY23 stood at rupees 393 crore. EBITDA stood at 29.19 crore in Q4 FY23. Net profit for the quarter stood at rupees 2.11 crore. Our standalone performance for FY23 is as follows. Total revenue for FY23 stood at 1,563 crore. EBITDA stood at rupees 129.12 crore in FY23. Net profit for the year stood at 124.26 crore. The summation. Our consolidated performance for Q4 FY23 is as follows. Total revenue stood at 393.5 crore in Q4 FY23. EBITDA stood at 30.8 crore for Q4 FY23 with a margin of 7.8%. Net profit for the quarter stood at 2.81 crore for the Q4 FY23. Our consolidated performance for FY23 are as follows. Total revenue stood at 1,586 crore for FY23. This includes export of 69% and domestic sales of 31%. EBITDA stood at rupees 144 crore in FY23, a degrowth of 38.8%. Net profit for the year stood at rupees 38.03 crore against 98.66 crore in FY22. During the year, our subsidiaries Senar-Boya and Bodal China has performed satisfactorily. During the year, Senar-Boya and Bodal China has reported a total income of 62.28 crore and 29.27 crore respectively and have reported noteworthy profitability. Performance of the other subsidiaries has been lower than expected due to soft demand. Segment-wise performance on a consolidated basis for the FY23 are as follows. Dyestuff revenue stood at rupees 541 crore. Dye intermediate revenue stood at 393 crore. Basic chemicals revenue stood at rupees 172 crore. Chlor-alkali revenue stood at 327 crore. TCCA revenue stood at 20.38 crore for FY23. Total production volume on a consolidated basis for the FY23 are as follows. Dyestuff reported 13,652 metric ton. Dye intermediate reported 14,779 metric ton. Basic chemical stood at 1,97,051 metric ton. Chlor-alkali and TCCA stood at 89,223 metric ton and 942 metric ton respectively. With this, I conclude the presentation and open the floor for further discussion and question and answer.
Thank you. Ladies and gentlemen, we will now begin with the question and answer session. Anyone wishing to ask a question may please press star and 1 on your touchtone telephone. If you wish to remove yourself from the question queue, you may press star and 2. Participants are requested to use handsets while asking a question. Ladies and gentlemen, we will wait for a moment while the question queue assembles. The first question is on the line of Aditya Khetan from SMIFS Institutional Equities. Please go ahead.
Sir, thank you for the opportunity. Sir, onto the dyestuff and dye intermediate business. Sir, when we look at your consolidated volume performance in FY23, that is well below your past 5 years trend. Like for dyestuff, historically we were operating at 18,000 to around 19,000 metric tons. And we had witnessed a good volume jump in FY22. For FY23, it is at around 13,000 tons. So can we assume for the next 2 years that we'll be back to that original run rate of 18 to 20,000, or now because of that structural demand issues which is there in textile? So reaching to that level would be difficult now from here on.
It looks like at the moment it is definitely difficult to reach those highest levels that we had reached. But I think after a couple of quarters, the overall demand scenario should be better. So for the FY24, I think we should be doing better than at least FY23.
And similarly for dye intermediates also, sir?
Similar situation is there in dye intermediates also. Currently there is a lot of pressure and there is a lot of uncertainty from China and from the dyestuff and textile demand. So that also we feel the same, that I think for at least a few months we don't see any major revival happening. once the overall global this few factors that is disturbing the global trade, I think once they are all back to normal, I think then only overall demand should improve, and with that the textile and the dyestuff and the intermediate demand should improve. So I again don't see a much turnaround or a revival for at least the next 4 to 6 months in the dye intermediate space.
Okay. And sir, in terms of cycle, when we talk about dyestuff, so for dye intermediate, as you mentioned, that there is still 4 to 6 months pain is there. So in terms of cycle, so where are we standing now? So considering your current quarter performance also, it seems like we are standing near the bottom or somewhere so down the line only. So is there a chance, so if suppose so things start to pick up, we can see improvement in numbers also from here on? And in terms of cycle, I wanted to understand, so where are we standing right? At the bottom or still we are in the middle?
In terms of the cycle, I think we are in a better place now because of two things. One is, if you compare the top line of Q3 and Q4, there is definitely a good improvement, about 30%. So that's one thing. So I think the worst is over. I think the worst was maybe Q3. And now the top line is now getting back to about 70-80% of our top best quarters. And the second point is many and majority of the raw materials have corrected. So a couple of quarters back, there were still many raw materials that were high in demand globally. So it was there was a delta between the prices of Chinese raw material and Indian raw materials. So it was difficult to compete with the Chinese in terms of intermediates. But now most of the raw materials have been corrected. They have come back into the normal range. So that is going to add some margins, and volumes are already back. If I compare to Q3. So it's definitely now a better in terms of the cycle. We are definitely going upwards now, but we don't see a very fast fast pace. I think it will be slow, but but definitely there will be some slow improvement.
Got it. Sir, in your FY23 for full fiscal, the caustic soda business has been around 21%. So despite such a high margin business, caustic soda, we had clocked a full year margin of 8.5%. So we were with that. So we were with the belief, so considering now Bodal is moving into newer segments which are having much higher margins. So that margin range which we were at around 10-12%, that can shift to around 15%. But despite caustic soda ramping up to the highest levels, margin trajectory doesn't seem to be that moving towards the higher range. So what will be that trigger? So now suppose that greenfield plant of Sayakha that will come on stream. So that will be a trigger point wherein we can see much improvement in the margins, or will be into this range only, somewhere around 7 to 10%.
So when you say 21% of the caustic business revenue out of total revenue, the caustic plant was operating on the older technology until November 2022. So because of the older technology, it was consuming a lot of electricity. So that's why the margins were not at par with the industry players. That is one reason. So it has only got about 4 months of performance. And also because we started, it was not running at optimum levels. So now recently, that plant is now running at around 80% of the installed capacity. And now going ahead in next couple of months, it should be operating at more than 95%. So also there are still 2-3 developments and upgradations that are still happening. So I think we are yet to see the best performance from the chlor-alkali business. I know price has corrected, but the price is still in a positive margin set. And so in terms of top line and margins, I think we should see improvement when it comes to on an annual basis. I'm saying when it comes to the chlor-alkali business. So that's one thing. And benzene.
Yes, good.
And benzene derivatives, yes, like we have been commenting, it is about 15% EBITDA business. So that is our target to have about 300-400 crores of turnover from the phase 1 of the benzene derivatives, which should start by end of December, commercial production and start selling the product in the market. So we are going. I think chlor-alkali, after all the improvements and all the utilization of the installed capacity when that happens, which is I think almost about 80% we have reached. So that and the execution of the benzene project, I think that should affect the overall margins, and that should help us to improve the overall margins.
So going ahead, sir, so what numbers are you all building in? So considering if the benzene derivatives also that will run at peak utilization level, caustic soda upgradation will happen, and the dye stuff and dye intermediates also business will improve at least from the current level for the next 1 to 2 years. So can we assume our current margins of 8 to 9%? This can move to around at least 11 to 12% range or higher than that. What is your take on it?
So when we include the new benzene business on an annual basis, and also chlor-alkali with all the improvements and upgradations and everything is done, I think then and some improvement that we are expecting in the next couple of quarters from the intermediate and dye stuff space, I think yes, put together, I think we should be able to reach around 11-12%. Our ultimate goal is to reach around 13 to 15%. But looking at the dye stuff and dye intermediate business, how it is shaping up now, I think it is going to remain under pressure for some time. But still, with the chlor-alkali, new plant and new capacity and improvements, and also the new benzene business, I think we can reach that 11%.
Yes. And sir, any reason why we have scrapped the forward integration into the benzene derivatives? We were planning to make MPDSA also. So now we are making only PNCB and ONCB. Any reason, sir, why we have scrapped that forward integration?
So the reason we were trying to integrate our new benzene derivative business with our intermediate and dyestuff business. But, meanwhile, while we started executing the project, the prices of steel and cement had gone very, very high. So overall projection of the project was resulting in a much, much higher investment than we anticipated. So because of that, we had to, move some of the products in phase 2. So we, other than NPDS also, we have another list of 5 products, which integrate very well with the benzene derivatives and also integrates to our existing business. So that is we also have environmental clearance for most of them. So that we are quite ready, to go ahead with. But then we don't want when our margins have been corrected, when we in our base business, which is intermediates and dyestuff, when we see some uncertainty in that business, we don't want to commit too much of an outflow. We don't want to end up with a lot of debt. So that is why, time being, in last 3-4 quarters, we had decided to hold our sulfuric acid project and also this couple of small projects that we did not go ahead with. But they are all ready, so we can once like I commented earlier in my speech, once this site is stabilized and this first phase products are stabilized and overall company is doing overall a little better, in terms of margins and all, we can immediately start with these products.
Got it, sir. Thank you, sir. That's it, sir.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1. The next question is from the line of Aniket Kulkarni from BMSPL Capital. Please go ahead.
Yeah, am I audible?
Yeah, loud and clear.
Good evening and thanks for the opportunity. So my question was, I have a couple of questions. So
sorry to interrupt, Mr. Kulkarni, your audio is breaking up.
Am I clear now?
So can you use the handset mode while speaking?
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, sir.
Yeah, so my question was, I have a couple of questions. So first on the vinyl sulfur H-acid prices.
I'm extremely sorry, sir, but we are unable to hear you clearly.
Just yeah, am I audible now?
No, sir. Sir, if you're using the speakerphone, we request you to turn off your handset while asking a question.
Hello, am I audible now?
Yes, sir. This is better. Please proceed.
Yeah, so my questions were on basically the vinyl sulfur and H-acid prices. So you have mentioned the prices, but can you give an idea on how these prices are trending and how the demand is holding up for both of these?
So the price are still in the similar range of, that they were in Q4. And it's around 425 levels per kg for H-acid and about 225 for vinyl sulfur. And the current demand is definitely, there is some pressure. The overall demand that comes from textile, we are seeing a very dull demand coming from the textile space. And that is affecting, the dyestuff operations, and hence the dye intermediate demand is down.
Okay. And the second question regarding the Chinese market. So has China reopening improved in current market conditions? And could you explain just how things have shaped up once China has reopened?
It did not change the overall price trend too much. And in fact, in June, so coming month, next month, there is a forecast that there's going to be millions of COVID cases again in China. So that is again it's a little scary situation where they are taking it lightly. That it's not like old times where they have to really respond. But still, I think if the outbreak happens with so many millions of cases, I think that will definitely affect their overall demand, overall trade, overall manufacturing. So whenever that happens, there's a lot of imbalance that happens. and that affects, their consumptions go down, and sometimes they are desperate to sell it to Indian markets. In the past, such things have happened. So there is definitely some uncertainty about Chinese markets right now also. And if you look at last couple of quarters, their GDP has also gone down. So that is a sign where, I think China is also slowed down in my view in last about 6 to 10 months. It has slowed down as an economy. So these are not good signs because US is, going through inflated cycle. Europe is also going through, some of the countries are going through recession, inflation. And again, China, one of the largest economies, again showing some decline numbers in terms of GDP. So overall, I would say it's not a great time, in terms of overall demand, for consumer level products. So I feel that I think there's some more time to go till, things get better, things revive.
Okay. Yeah. Thank you so much for the answer and best of luck for the future quarters.
Thank you.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star in 1. The next question is on the line of Aditya Khetan from SMIFS Institutional Equities. Please go ahead.
Sir, thank you for the follow-up. Sir, onto the Chinese economy slowing. So, considering if their economy is slowing, but the production levels, I believe, they are still on the higher side only. So, are you witnessing any sort of increased imports in dye intermediates from China to India, and that is also putting some pressure onto the vinyl sulfone prices, due to which the market is not performing? Is there any such idea on this one?
No, that was happening 3-4 months back, but last I would say about 45 to 60 days, there is not been much of import pressure the product coming from China. So even the prices they are quoting are much higher than what they were quoting 3-4 months ago. So today I think China's position in terms of HSA or vinyl sulfur or intermediate stocks to be sold is I think they are very comfortable. When I said that the economy is slowing down, where the dye stuff or the textile piece is very, very small, it's probably not even 5% of the total GDP. So what I commented was, that overall GDP has come down around 5%. So that is just a sign of, things slowing down. But I think currently, last about a month, there is definitely not much import product from China available for Indian markets.
Any other countries are from where we have witnessed increase in imports, particularly?
Import of what products?
Import of dye intermediates and dye stuff.
No, there are no other countries where dye intermediates are produced. They are only produced in India and China. Dye stuffs are produced in some other countries also, but majoritarily it's done in India and China. So there are no imports. There are some established companies, which are Taiwan and South Korea based. In dye stuff space, so they do sell some product to countries like India and Bangladesh and Vietnam and all that, but they don't have a significant share of the market.
Okay, and as you mentioned, so the Chinese players have also increased the prices. So we would be also revising our contract upwards only. So that would be reflected from the coming quarter, right, sir?
Yeah, so the prices have not been falling for like last 2-3 months now. There has been some demand, that is why I think the prices stopped falling further. Though there is some correction in the raw materials, still the prices are not going down. So yes, like you said, yes, the current orders, current contracts are definitely happening at the current levels, which are not been going down in the last few months. So with some of the raw materials going down, we are hoping for definitely for better margins than Q4.
Got it. And sir, onto the capex guidance for this for the greenfield Sayakha plant, what is the capex figure we have outlined?
Sayakha, as we have mentioned in the revised projection also, so total 390 crore we are going to spend for benzene downstream and our soft cost as well as infrastructure cost. At the same time, we have already spent about 64 crore for sulfuric acid. So putting apart from sulfuric acid, about 390 crore we are going to spend in Saikha. Out of that, about 250 crore is to be spent in current year, and balance we have already spent by 31st March.
240 crore is there. So, sir, our guidance is to complete the project by September or by December. So, the crore would completely be incurred. So, during the next 6-7 months.
Yes, by September that will be incurred.
Okay. And sir, onto the debt levels, like what levels of debt we are seeing for FY24 post expansion of the
Yeah. The present our total debt is 755 crore in March 23 balance sheet, and another about 200 crore we will add. At the same time, some repayment will also start from current year. So net we are expecting about 150 crore will further get added to this level. So next year end we will be in the range of about 900 to 950 crore. This is the broader range where we will have our debt, total debt, including working capital.
950 crores. Okay.
Yeah. So that will be of a debt equity of about 0.8, and that's a decent one for our size company.
Got it. Thank you, sir.
Yeah.
Thank you. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1. Participants in the conference, if you wish to ask a question, you may please press star and 1. A reminder to the participants, anyone wishing to ask a question, may please press star and 1. As there are no further questions, I now hand the conference over to Mr. Ankit Patel for his closing comments.
With this, we conclude the call and would like to thank everyone for joining us today on this earnings call. If you have any further queries, you can connect to us anytime. Thank you and have a nice evening.
Thank you.
Thank you, members of the management team. Ladies and gentlemen, on behalf of Bodal Chemicals Limited, that concludes this conference call. We thank you for joining us, and you may now disconnect your lines. Thank you.